1-2 punch today. Please give them a round of applause.
Good morning.
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 All right, I'll do a little house cleaning from yesterday. The Appleton paper did run a article on this. I haven't read it yet, but it's on the front page. It'll be on their website. So check it out. It was a way of getting awareness out. But there's also something else that happened yesterday that probably flew over everyone's head, and somewhat mine. But we had an individual who was tweeting during the conference yesterday, during the filming. I don't know how they did it. They did it during the panel. Also tweeted about the Women's Advisory Veterans Committee. So here's how this works. This person had 1,000 followers. It got retweeted by DAV, National Headquarters, by VA, by veterans coming home, by, there were numerous. So essentially what that means is there were thousands, tens of thousands of people throughout this country who understood what was going on in Appleton, Wisconsin yesterday afternoon. So you need to be aware of it. One other item that was, I think, very impressive, well, there's two. One, I had to come up here and talk after the film. So I stood behind the screen and I was looking out at the audience for a good 10, 15 minutes. I got to tell you, everybody's eyes was glued on that screen.
Yep.
Nobody was talking.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing anything. The other factor was, I talked to Christina briefly after it. Hanson, she was the one that showed it. And you people filled out, what do you call, feedback forms, whatever. They got 78 forms. Normally you're not going to get 10 or 20. So we're going to find out, we'll be going through it, finding out reactions and come up with some kind of comment for the department. That takes care of that. Now we'll get into legislation. And it won't be good. There's no jokes up here today. All right, let me talk. How many of you have heard about Concerned Veterans for America? All right, I don't know what you've heard, but now you're going to hear it straight. Concerned Veterans for America is a very well-funded group. Their goal, basically, is to eliminate VA healthcare. They want to turn VA into a quasi-public insurance company. Eventually, this will lead into a, here's a voucher, good luck, find your healthcare. They've hired lobbyists on Capitol Hill. They've talked to every legislator up on Capitol Hill, transmitting their philosophy to them. They use poll-tested talking points which sound good to the uninformed. They want to, I mean, who's against choice, right? Their philosophy is, let's turn VA or veterans health care into a buffet, which on the surface sounds great, but this will eventually diminish quality of the health care that veterans get. It will substantially increase veterans' costs for medical care. Now, I want to point this out, and I want to emphasize this. No study exists that show private sector healthcare can absorb veterans' needs or give veterans quick access or quality. None. Basically, what they're proposing is a social experiment based on ideology, not evidence. Additionally, they will be proposing changes to VA compensation, and they infer or compare it to welfare. Instead of receiving monthly VA compensation, all veterans in their mind should be given a block grant for education and then told to go to work. All right, that's Conserve Veterans for America. Here's some expectations that are going to be coming down the line. VA outside care. Those of you that have been exposed to choice know it's been kind of chaotic for a lot of reasons, and I'm not going to get into it. But currently, VA has, for outside care, is numerous different programs. It's very complex, so it's understandable why the choice program got off to a rocky start. Some of the programs that VA has, and what Congress did was, instead of augmenting existing outside care programs, they created a whole new program out of whole cloth. A lot of problems, finger pointing, goes towards VA, and some of it is serious and needs to be addressed. But perhaps people who are making these laws need to look in the mirror also. So here are some of the programs. They had fee bases. You can contract it out. You got PC3. You got ARCH. You got the choice program. And there's many more. So what is going to happen? On November 1st, VA is mandated to present a simplified plan for outside VA care to Congress. At that last hearing they had, Secretary Bob said that the plan is pretty much finalized and it will be presented to Congress. All right, they also, at the same hearing, you had what is called the MITRE report. MITRE is a private corporation that investigates public sector government. So it's a 4,000-page report. It made recommendations on VA health care, and it has been given to Congress. In fact, they testified, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Recommendations were already known by VA, and the reforms have begun. Additionally, the Choice Act mandated what is called Commission on Care. So at this moment, as we're talking, well, it's not today, it's Saturday, they are meeting. The commission is comprised of 15 members. 5 were appointed by the House, 5 by the Senate, 5 by the administration. Dave Gorman, those of you who have been around a while, has been appointed by the administration. He's the former executive director of DAV Washington headquarters, and he's been reporting back to DAV as to what is transpiring with this commission. Most of the others, nearly all of them, are mainly from the private health care sector with no knowledge of treating veterans. VSOs have been marginalized. Rather than ask, why don't you come up and testify to us, they have been told, oh, submit a letter. So we are very, very concerned about what's going on. And just so you get the full picture here, this commission from the Choice Act was only given 90 days to investigate and make a recommendation. And if you understand the proper protocol for doing this, every other commission in anyone's memory usually gets 18 months to investigate, analyze, and make a recommendation. So it always goes without saying, we feel that what is going on is a rush to judgment. Their recommendations will be made early next year. Whether it becomes part of the election farther, I don't know. But that's what's kind of coming down the line on this stuff. All right. It has been my honor to be appointed chair of the DAV National Interim Legislative Committee. We will be meeting in Washington in early December to discuss the matters I just talked about and to formulate a program to increase grassroots activities. And we're going to need it. So at this time, let me turn over to state issues. I now have an extremely qualified deputy legislative director. His name is Larry Hill. Larry is an extremely qualified individual who worked for DOD at Fort McCoy running departments and agencies. So Larry, at this time, It is your turn. Thank you for your help.
Good morning.
Morning.
I know I've seen many of you over the last few years, and just briefly tell you a little bit about me. I am a Vietnam veteran. I'm originally from the state of North Carolina, but I've lived here in Wisconsin for the last 38 years. In fact, my wife is a native of the Green Bay area, Pulaski High School graduate, as a matter of fact. And I like Wisconsin. I really enjoy the fact that we have 4 seasons. But a little bit of personal background. I had about 5.5 years active duty with the Army. I got out of the Army and I went back to work for Department of Defense, specifically Department of the Army. I had 42 years of service when I did retire from working as a federal employee. And I did serve in many different leadership positions, from a team leader all the way up through assistant commandant of a school that was training about 10,000 students per year right here in Wisconsin at Fort McCoy, and another probably 12,000 through our outreach or decentralized training programs. I also served as assistant commandant at that school, as well as led the curriculum development, our training program development, for about 40 different programs of instruction that we had here. That's a little bit on me. I do have 2 children. One lives in La Crosse, one is up in Duluth area. Okay, what's going on within the state? Yesterday we all heard Mark Art talking about the employment initiative that was going on. And that was as a result of Governor Walker signing Executive Order 137 last year. Right now, what's happening as a result of that executive order has been many committee meetings that have taken place in Madison. And now their statutes are going to be put in place in the form of a Assembly bill, which is 441, and a Senate bill, which is 339, have been introduced to make that statute that Mark was talking about yesterday. This is the legislative priority that converts that executive order. This will increase employment for veterans and severely disabled veterans in the state government agencies. And as you can see, yesterday here in Mark speak, that already it's being successful as a result of executive order. Now when it becomes part of the statutes, all agencies currently have goals will also continue to have goals. And based on the size of the agency within the state government, that goal will vary. This also creates a panel within the state, and also the secretaries that have representation on this panel to address employment will be the Secretary of Administration, Department of Workforce Development, Personnel Director from Department of Administration, Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs, and a representative from the UW system, all being part of that. The meeting was held under the EO, have been very successful, and the first report was submitted on July 1 showing results for last year. Gary Meyer and Mark yesterday spoke to that. Mark is Gary's lead, and he's the representative of the Department of Workforce Development for this initiative. Currently, the Assembly Bill 441 and Senate Bill 339 is in committee. It's had its first reading. As a matter of fact, the Assembly Bill was just assigned a number, I think as recent as yesterday. So we've been tracking that. And the concerns have been issued by some members that will be explored, that spoke to Al yesterday. So we'll pursue that, and we'll get back to you in the future on that. In the future, if there are possible information that you have relative to the bills or the initiatives that we've asked for through resolutions at the state level, please provide some documentation to us and get to us so we can follow up on that. Okay. This concludes my presentation, unless there are questions.
Anybody have any questions of either Al or?
I have a question related to what Al said on that new organization that's pushing basically getting rid of the VA. How, as we as members, can we address that? Do we contact our congressmen, our senators?
Well, I tried to explain that when I talked. We're gonna have a meeting in December, and we will be coming back with information. They're gonna have a webinar done by National Journal, and there's a couple of organizations. It's very hard to get into the specifics, because I just got told about this last night. I knew about the meeting, but they did talk about some of the specifics. You will be notified immediately when we formulate some kind of response. But at the moment, what we really need is what John Honecker did yesterday. We need you guys to be going out in public and saying, I have VA healthcare, and it's great, I love it. Ken remembers this, when we did a Veterans Advisory Board with Representative Ryan down in, I forgot where it was now, by you.
Elkhorn.
There was a woman that was I think she was like chief of nursing for VA for many years.
Yeah.
There was me,
Ken.
yes, Ken, and we were kind of responding to what the representative was saying. And then this old veteran was sitting there, and he had listened to all of this for quite a while, and he finally raised his hand. He said, you know, Paul, I got one complaint about the VA. Oh, what's that? They don't publicize the great care of VA. So that's what you guys need to be doing right now. Call your goddamn, excuse me. Call your representative, call Senator Baldwin, call Senator Johnson, and tell them, I'm a veteran and I'm getting great care.
Just one other quick item. We in the DAV have a heck of a marketing problem, and I want to say why. I had 42 years of federal service in DOD, Department of the Army. You know what? I had never heard of DAV until one day I walk into the VA hospital there in Pullman and says, I want to be a driver. I'll volunteer to drive people back and forth. That's, let's say, Kurt was the HSC at that point in time, and he says, well, you're going to join the DAV. And I says, what the hell is a DAV? Never heard of it. But since then, I've found out, as a service organization, we do more for veterans than any other service organization I'm aware of. And I want to support this as much as I can to make sure we continue that. Thanks.
Ken,
Yeah?
I had a situation that happened 2 weeks ago.
Give them the mic so everybody can.